What's up everyone, this is Tranquil Toys with another review. This time, taking a look at the new Vincent from the FF7 Bring Arts line. There are some things that I like about this figure and some things that they did really wrong. For example, they gave him the bad drop down hips. There's nothing wrong with drop down hips when it's done right, but they keep doing it wrong. But I'll just get into it right now. Not a whole lot of accessories, which is something that we've come to expect at this point. The detail, the quality, the sculpt, and the paint is pretty good. And then he also has a gun, which is kind of lame, honestly. He did have a couple different rifles and pistols in the games. I would have liked a lot more variety with the weapons. Luckily, I have a lot of 1/12 scale guns, so we'll see. For the most part, the figure does look pretty cool. It's pretty faithful to the design. Although one thing that kind of looks weird is the shape of the head. It just doesn't really look accurate to the art. But besides that, everything on the figure looks really good. You got shading everywhere on the figure. The copper parts of the armor really stand out. So in terms of design and detail, the figure does look really good. Where it really fails is the engineering. Head sculpt doesn't really move a whole lot. You can get some tilt out of there, and of course swivel. And the collar of the cloak kind of gets in the way, but not really. I think the main problem is where the neck joint connects to the head. That's where most of the issues are coming from. The hair is also articulated, and a weird thing on mine is like there's this white residue, probably from glue. So it does get out of the way for the most part. The shoulders kind of surprised me. It does have like this big, sculpted part here that's stuck to the arm. You can shift it up and down slightly, not really getting a whole lot, and then shift it back and forward, and then swivel it all around. And there's a swivel right above the elbow. I hate it when they do that because it's not really like a strong connection, so that can lead to some issues down the road. And another thing that's not very strong is the elbow joints here. So you have to be careful when bending the elbow and using the bicep swivel. If you try to move the arm from down here, it puts a lot of stress on the joint. You can see that's really bending that joint. That goes for both arms. So if you want to move the shoulder, you have to come up here, grab it from up there to move it. You could really risk breaking the elbow joint, but the elbows still work pretty good. Single joint elbows. And then coming to the wrist right here, of course he's got two different hands. He's got a gloved hand, and there's a separate part here that you can move independently, and then his hand moves separately from that. You get the same kind of wrist articulation, and then his other hand is a different kind of glove, and the part on the wrist here is sculpted. That's not a separate part. Then the torso is kind of not that great. It's a problem with a lot of these figures, not really getting a whole lot of range from the upper torso. It's really stiff, but the bottom torso, you're gonna get most of the movement from there. He can go forward and back. The cloak does get out of the way. It is on a joint as well, and it also is removable. It goes back that far, side to side, and then his leg pops off pretty easily. He's got that issue that the first Cloud had, and again, it's because they're using the system they just didn't do it right. Nothing wrong with the drop down hips, but they just don't know how to engineer it properly. It's really hard to swivel the upper torso, but it is there, and then the lower torso swivels a lot more easily. With the hips, yeah, the leg is just gonna keep falling off. This whole area just looks ridiculous because of that. Goes back a lot, to the side, decent amount. Double jointed knees, no rotation at the top of the boot, and it's the same ankle articulation that we've seen before. And then toe hinge. So the figure's not really that bad. I'd say it's probably the second worst, Sephiroth being the first worst or the most worst figure out of this line. This is probably the next one. It just has a lot of problems with it, and when a figure has all these problems combined, it's just not a fun figure. And then I forgot to mention that there is thigh rotation as well. On the left leg is pretty much unusable because it just detaches. And he has one hand for holding his pistol, and he holds it pretty well. He's got a good grip on it. I guess it looks kind of cool, but again, would have liked a lot more variety. Switching the hands is no problem. You can kind of get a, two-handed. You can kind of get two hands on the gun pose. All right, let's do a few comparisons to see what kind of other guns we can give him. Here he's next to Cloud. Here he is next to Tifa. Here he is next to Captain America. Here he is next to PW Toys Leon. Here he is next to Figma Reaper from Overwatch. I feel like these two characters kind of have similar vibes. Here he is next to Fig Arts Goku. Here he is next to Jada Toys Ken. Alright, now let's see what kind of guns we can give him. So here he is with an AR style rifle, and this is from Volivers. So that looks pretty cool. I don't think he had a gun like that in the game though. Here he is with a shotgun, and this is from Gridiron Studios. He had something like this in the game, I think. So I think this looks pretty cool. Sniper rifle, I'm pretty sure he had a sniper rifle. I'm probably going to have him displayed with this because it just makes the figure look better. There's not really that many redeeming qualities about this figure. It's not like a figure that you really need because it's Vincent, unless you want to complete the entire FF7 crew. At least with a figure like Sephiroth, I mean, it's freaking Sephiroth. You need a Sephiroth figure. And this is just kind of like a lame figure with Sephiroth. I mean, the fact that it's Sephiroth does overshadow a lot of the negatives from that figure. But it's just not the same for this Vincent figure. But anyways, guys, that's everything I wanted to say. Let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think about this character, about this figure? If you have it, let me know your thoughts as well. That's everything I needed to say. So I'll see you in the next one.